Now, as much fun as I had making fun of that ticket, I was also aware of the fact that it was a ticket that required me to appear in court against my will. So 2 weeks later, I'm at the Atlanta Municipal Court. And I walk in, and I get there early, I check in, and hand me a plea sheet and tell me to sit down. And as I'm sitting there, I'm not really 100% certain what I'm going to do in this situation. On one hand, I did walk through the door. But on the other hand, it was an accident that I offered to fix. I also noticed that according to the plea sheet, if you plead guilty, you can't say or do anything. You have no rights. You just pay the fine and leave. But if you plead not guilty, you can tell your side of the story and give yourself a fighting chance. Now, I've never been to court before, so I go and I ask anybody I can, the check-in guy, the bailiff, just ask me for advice on what the hell to do. And of course, they both gave me the same answer. We're not inclined to give legal advice, but I reckon you'll get a chance to talk to somebody. The only problem is, neither one of these morons would tell me who the person was or when I get a chance to talk to him. Luckily for me, I had my mom for moral support, and so I asked her, Mom, what do you think I should do? Benny, just plead not guilty, tell your side of the story, and hope for the best. So I fill out the sheet, the judge comes out, and as fate would have it, I'm the first guy he calls up. So without missing a single beat, I get up, I walk up to the podium, I hand him my plea sheet, and I wait.
Should I stand up? Should I go stand up?
A few minutes later, the judge says, Mr. Bucci, you're here by charge with evading MARTA payment. I understand you're going to plead not guilty? Yes, Your Honor. Then all of a sudden he dropped a bombshell on me. And he says, trial date will be set for March 9, 2010. A subpoena will be given to the cop to appear in court. If he fails to appear in court, the case will be thrown out. Next case. So they hand me my case sheet, and I walk away. 3 weeks later, I'm back in the courtroom. And I see the cop standing there with his head held up high. I think he was proud of himself for what he did. And I just stood there with my statement in my hand. And I waited. And as I waited, I looked around the courtroom and I realized that I was not the only person required to be here today. There's over 50 people in this courtroom, and I'm the only one wearing a suit. I swear to God, I look around this courtroom, and I see people wearing hoodies and jumpsuits and backwards caps and faded jeans sagging down their knees. I'm like, do you idiots know where you are? This is court. This ain't the BET Awards. For Christ's sake, you go away, wore a suit to court. And that wasn't bad enough. I saw a girl over here dressed like a hooker. I'm like, what the hell is this? Then I found out that's what she was in for, and I was like, oh, she's wearing a uniform. That's okay. I'll accept that. Then at 8 a.m. on the dot, the bailiff says, Ladies and gentlemen, please rise. Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Mark Twain presiding. Now, obviously his name wasn't Mark Twain, but it might as well have been because the cop looked exactly like him. Matter of fact, halfway through the trial, I expect him to say, "You know, the MARTA cop is really the most interesting jackass there is." But that's just wishful thinking. So once again, I'm called to the podium. And I tell the judge my side of the story. Then the cop gets up and he tells his side of the story, which is difficult for him because we pretty much have the same story, except I believe it was an accident and he didn't. As for handcuffing me, his big excuse was, well, Marta had a zero tolerance policy and I was just doing my job. Yeah, whatever. So, but luckily for me, the judge, he was an old school judge who had kids of his own when we were in college, so he could semi-relate to what I was going through. So he takes a break to review both of our cases, and then he comes back with some very interesting information. Apparently, it is illegal in the state of Georgia to throw someone in a holding cell with handcuffs on. Now, they can handcuff you and they can take you to jail. But once you're in the jail, the cuffs have to come off. So not only was I found not guilty, not only was the record completely expunged as if it never took place, but the judge fined the cop $260 and he was fired right on the spot. God bless America, right? And the judge, he looked me dead in the eye and said, "Mr. Bucci, you are free to go." Now, I know to some of you this would probably seem like a minor offense and not a big deal or worthy talking about. All I know is it didn't feel that way to me. To be honest, I had never felt more taken advantage of my whole entire life. And I had a girlfriend. Personally, I was just happy to have the whole mess finally over and done with and no longer stressing me out 24/7. As I opened that door to leave the courtroom, I couldn't help but say, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, I'm free at last.